Okay, hey guys, it's Sealhard here. Today, I just wanted to finally release my long-awaited uh, skill builds video, where I go over my rotation and all my builds for the Greatsword and Spear class, aka the Gladiator class. And just a little introduction, quick little introduction here. I'm the guild leader of the guild Cygnus. Here's our guild. We're located in the Moonstone server. If you ever want to hit us up, we're very casual friendly, with a lot of members over 5.7k combat power, and we just want to help out newer players over here. Whether you're new or old alike, if you'd like to join sometime, just let me know. And yeah, little things to go over for some of my credentials. I have over here some of my world boss ranks with this build, just to show you guys some credibility with the gladiator class. I don't even think the gladiators are like top DPS when it comes to single target, but with this rotation I've managed to achieve these ranks over here despite not being so. And I guess it's just maximizing the amount of buffs I have as much as possible, and I'll go through each one as much as I can. See, here I was able to get rank 1 actually as a gladiator, which is nice. And yeah, I got my Digon's staff here from the last video that I was able to sell. And yeah, let me go and get right to it then. So first off, I want to go through my builds. I'll show you guys pretty much, I'll link this to my video underneath after the video. So here's my quest log build. I have 6, I believe. Yep. This first one initially, if you're free to play, don't even look at this one. This is pretty much like the dream build, kind of like for whales. If you're a whale watching this, have fun with this. But this is pretty much like the maximum like god tier build you can go for, I guess, in my opinion. Like, you got the double arch boss tier 2 weapons, Deluge Noah's serrated shard for your spear, your Cordy's warblade of creeping doom. I go with the 4-piece Oryx set, and I off-piece the Crown Skull of Victory for the hit chance and heavy attack chance mostly. And also the dexterity helps get it to the certain thresholds that you need. So like, you go for 70 strength here, 60 dexterity, 70 perception, and 60 fortitude, so it's nice. Works out pretty well. This is also a pretty expensive item, Cloak of the Frozen Expanse. You're probably not going to get that as a free-to-play, and neither do I. I don't have that currently. What's achievable is the Auric Vanguard set, which, the 2-piece, it gives you endurance of each type per 10 perception. So you want to get as much perception as possible. Try to get like 70, which is nice. That works out really well because as a gladiator, I believe we have the highest ceiling when it comes to melee hit chance. Like, that's our core strength. It's really good against people building evasion. Like, we are the class that dominates evasion, which is really broken, honestly, in this game. And actually, one of the things I wanted to talk about, the reason I am not going evasion is I don't necessarily think that endurance is better. It's just that as a free-to-play player like me, this is more accessible, the endurance set. Here, let me get off this pay-to-win build. Let me go to something more of my... Yeah, here we go. So, endurance, it's not necessarily that endurance is better. I still think in a way evasion is better, but currently at the moment for free-to-play users, a lot of like really good evasion accessories that you need, like for example the demonic cuffs, I think. Let me check where that is. That could be the bracelet. Demon Pact, yeah, there you go. Infernal Demon Pact cuffs. This is a really good accessory. you just don't have access to this like as a free to play, you know, like these are locked behind Nebula world bosses. A lot of the really expensive accessories, like here for example, all these accessories are like pretty much Nebula boss accessories. So I don't, as a free to play user, I don't recommend even like looking at this because this is very unrealistic, you know. I guess the rune band is achievable, but it's still pretty expensive. I'd rather focus on getting the 4-piece Auric Vanguard set and the Crown Skull of Victory. So here's the pay-to-win Giga Chad whale build right here. Let me go through. This one's kind of a niche build I just came up with. This focuses on maximizing collision res, but I feel like it's a little overkill, so I wouldn't really follow this unless you've tested it, or, you know, let me check here. I've got a couple of, collision resistance is 1302 for this build. This is just like maximizing collision res completely, you know, with full collision res accessories, and plus this Bangle of the Clearest Night to give you magic endurance and ranged endurance. The whole point of this endurance build is to maximize the 3 types of endurance, which is the melee, ranged, and magic endurance, while building up collision resistance to avoid getting CC'd a lot, you know. So here's my collision resistance build. You can go over this in my quest log down in the link below. But the main one I wanted to showcase is my hit chance build, because this is what I'm most likely going for as a free-to-play player, and I've managed to make a really nice budget version that's not too far off from the expensive version here, actually. So here's the only difference between the expensive version and the budget version is the 2 accessories here plus the cape. The Pendant of Barbaric Rage, which is a Nebula drop, and this Coil of Endless Hunger as well. Those are really expensive, so I wouldn't go for those. You know, they're probably like, here, let me check the store actually, the auction house I mean. Pendant of Barbaric Rage. Yeah, it's not even on sale right now, and the last one sold for like 100k Lucent. That's just whale territory right there, you know, just unachievable as a free-to-play. Let's try the Coil of Endless Hunger. Endless Hunger. Yep, same thing, 100k, yeah. No can do. So these 2 are great because they offer melee hit chance while also offering attack speed and other useful benefits like heavy attack chance, you know. Great stuff to have for DPS like Gladiator, you know. However, there are substitutes for this, and I'll show you why. I'll show you what I mean. The Cloak of Frozen Expanse is also expensive. Let me check that. Cloak of Frozen. Oh, did I mistype it? Cloak of the Frozen. Okay. Yeah, 140k, that's crazy. No way. Yeah, so let me show you guys the actual free-to-play friendly build right here. This is all achievable as a free-to-play, and I currently have some of these already. So here's the main build that I'm aiming for. This is my budget version for hit chance. As you can see here, if I compare the 2, my hit chance here is around 1989 unbuffed, and over here it's 2119 unbuffed. So there's like a 200 hit chance different, maybe like 150 actually, not too bad. So, and it's a lot more affordable too. So I'm using the Pakilo Naru Spear, which gives you CC resistances. This helps really well. It's like, it synergizes really well with the Auric Vanguard set, because the weakness of endurance in this game is that you're open to CC. You know, that's why evasion is pretty much like the meta since tier 1, because not only do you evade attacks with evasion, but you also negate CC effects, you know. But at the moment in tier 2, not only do gladiators get like really strong with melee hit chance, like our ceiling is really high, so it puts off a lot of people who want to build evasion. unless you're building like daggers, you know. I recommend gladiators going endurance at the moment, unless you're playing like spear with daggers. Yeah, like I think that class is called Shadow Dancer, or any class with daggers, you know, pretty much that can utilize more evasion. Yeah, I believe endurance is the go-to for now, at least until like the Nebula accessories, Archboss accessories become much more accessible. Um, excuse me one second, let me close the window real quick. Okay, so back to the build. Let me go over this one with you guys really carefully, as this is the one I'll be aiming for PvP wise. Right. So, first thing, the Pakilo Naru Spear. It gives a nice fortitude stat of 9 and 11 perception, and it also gives collision chance, which is great for us Greatsword users as well. You know, so this synergizes really well with Greatsword users. The big thing about this spear is the CC resistances that you can achieve, which it stacks up to 10 times. Let's see here. On damaging a target with a spear skill, all CC resistances increase by 25 for 3 seconds once per skill, and it stacks up to 10 times. So that means you can get a maximum stack of 250 CC resistances, which is a lot, especially if you're pairing it up with a lot of collision res already. And for here, I have 816 collision res, so with this spear, that'll net me over 1000 already, as long as I keep applying spear skills, you know. And pretty much for my runes, I went like all collision. Actually, not on the weapons because you can't get it, but on my accessories, I went collision resistance to build up as much of that as possible. So before I get into the runes, though, let me go talk about the Naru's Frenzied Greatblade. So I've been playing Gladiator since the spear class came out, and I've been experimenting, and I've gotten quite a bit of experience now playing this class for months. The one thing I wanted to notify a lot of people confused about, like what great sword to go for as a gladiator. There's a couple of great options, but if you do have access to the Naru's Frenzied Greatblade from the Archboss Pakilo Naru, this is the best in slot greatsword for PvE, but it also works really well in PvP from a dueling standpoint. I haven't tested this out in large scale yet, but let me go over this with you. So this is like the greatest stat stick greatsword, as you can see. It has dexterity 9, wisdom 8, and strength 12. Now when people first see this, they think of the passive Valiant Brawl and Cruel Smite damage, 15%, and its cooldown decrease effect. But the biggest thing I want to take away from this is not like sure, the Valiant Brawl and Cruel Smite damage, that's nothing to sleep on. That's really great, and I feel like a lot of people sleep on its damage because it hurts a lot if you get hit with that. That's one of our core brawling skills as a greatsword user, and it really does a truck ton of damage if you're able to spam it. Not only that, but how this cooldown decrease works is it essentially cuts the cooldown of that specific skill in half. Now, at first glance, it may seem like, oh wow, like I can apply this much damage twice as fast now, you know, because the cooldown's been decreasing now. But that's not the key here. Now the key that makes this greatsword really freaking good, and I believe that it's the secret to my high ranks in World Boss, is the skill specialization in Valiant Brawl. So let me go through that over here with you guys. There's a specific skill specialization in Valiant Brawl, which is the damage increase modifier. After a skill is used, damage increases by 5% for 2 seconds. Now you see how that only has a 2-second duration, right? Now if you have a lot of buff duration, you can essentially prolong this as much as possible. So the key here is to keep this ability active as much as possible using that passive. Without the Naru Greatsword, it's difficult to keep this up because 2 seconds is too short. if you had like a regular cooldown without the Naru Greatsword. Let me go get let me test it out with my dentist sword real quick, actually, just to show you guys. So if I equip my, oh wait, wrong one. If I equip my dentist sword here, right? Pay attention to the cooldown on my Valiant Brawl. You know, it barely goes like from 7 to 4 due to some of my passive effects and cooldown reduction. However, if I switch in my Naru, it goes from, oh, sometimes it doesn't apply because of the crit here. Let me try that again. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, pretty much the same, but when you, certain combos, when you apply them, it'll go down to 2 at times. There you go, just like that. So it does make a big difference when you're trying to apply as much of that modifier as much as possible, because this modifier here alone can really boost your damage like tremendously, especially when you're doing your certain combos like the guillotine blade combo, which I'll go over later when I go through the my skill rotations. So that's the big thing about the biggest selling point, in my opinion, with the Naru Greatsword, is that it offers that cooldown decrease effect 50% to, not for the damage of Valiant Brawl and Cruel Smite, but that's a great bonus, but the main selling point for me is that you're able to spam your Valiant Brawl so you can get that damage modifier ASAP as much as possible. Like the uptime, you can get it like pretty much all the time and increase your overall damage throughout the duration of your combos. So yeah, pretty lengthy explanation for the Naru, but that's something I was wondering about before I got the Naru Greatsword, and now that I finally got to test it for a while, couple weeks, I wanted to share that with you guys. So next up, I go with, this is my main armor set, you know, 4-piece Auric, undoubtedly. I would go for the, I would off-piece the hat, because this hat offers a hit chance and heavy attack chance, as well as dexterity. Now the other hat is, the Auric hat is pretty nice too, honestly. It has Fortitude 6, Wisdom 6, and importantly, collision resistance, right? But I ended up going with this one, the Crown Skull of Victory, to reach certain thresholds as well. So I went for 60 strength, 70 dexterity, 60 perception, and Fortitude 50 with this budget version build, you know? Because at the moment, it's very difficult to get like 70 perception with this kind of like budget build, so I just ended up going with 60. Now I went with the Opulent Noble's Mantle for my cloak because it offers hit chance and cooldown speed. Now the thing about, I don't know if you guys have seen my previous videos, but one of the things I really try to clarify is you want to kind of match your attack speed to your cooldown speed to really make the most out of your damage rotations, because you can't have an absurd amount of attack speed without, you know, giving yourself a bit of cooldown speed, because it's just going to go to waste. Like, in order for the rotations to flow smoothly, you want to balance your attack speed with cooldown speed, and I try to do that as much as possible with this build as I could. So I ended up going with Opulent Noble's Mantle to give me that hit chance and cooldown speed. Now if you don't really care about that, if you just want to do, like, you know, if you're like trying to play more tanky in a way, one other option would be the Cloak of Victorious Destiny, which also offers hit chance, the same amount at 120, but it gives you 705 max health. Now for me that was kind of debatable because I don't really, at tier 2 we get a lot of like max HP as it is. Like even without this, as you can see here, I already have like 21k max health, not even building into max health like traits with all my gear, you know. I just put like debuff duration, but you can play around with that if you want. You could try going, instead of debuff duration, go max health if you'd like, if you want to be a little more tanky, you know. But this is a more like brawler style focused build. a little tankiness, but at the same time you're still playing to your class, you know, like I understand I'm not a crusader, I'm not a templar, I'm not going to survive as much as them, you know. So while I am alive, I want to do the most I can using the strengths of my class, which is the ceiling of hit chance, and I want to do as much damage to people as much as I can while I'm alive, you know, because you will die even with all this tankiness. However, with the this hit chance build, at least you'll be able to create a much greater impact than without it before you do die. So that's why I chose this mantle. And then for the standard 4-piece Auric set, you know, mostly for the 2-piece and 4-piece effects, you know, when you get 4 combined total, and your fortitude is over 50, which is why I kept it there, you get a main weapon base damage, an increase of 30. And that's great as a spear user, because you, at the end of the day, you're a DPS class. You want to do as much damage as you can. You know, you're not like a Steelheart, you're not like a Crusader, or, you know, even Crusaders can do a lot of damage, but mostly single target, in my opinion. But the great thing about Gladiators is we can do a lot of damage AoE through our Ignite build, yeah, and our Fire Javelins. So, let me see, what else can I cover here? Yeah, pretty much I went for the standard melee endurance, range endurance. As you can notice here, most of these gear only have like melee endurance and ranged endurance as their traits. So what I ended up doing was, for my accessories and runes, I ended up, for the blue runes, I would take magic endurance to kind of balance it out, you know, since we're lacking on magic endurance from the traits here. Only the hat, I believe, yeah, has magic endurance. So balancing it out, we get around like a good triple endurance stat over here. It's really nice, you know, so I recommend going for that. That's the goal. You want to just have high endurance all across the board so you can protect against all sorts of damage, and then also get like collision resistance, and most importantly the hit chance to do as much damage as possible to a lot of people building evasion. And here we go. Let's see the next accessory. Now I'll go through the Primal Ritual Collar last because I want to go through these first. I'll show you why I picked this one out, because this isn't as important. It's specifically for this build, but I do want to note this does give cooldown speed as well, so it's a great bonus as well. So the first accessory I'll talk about is the Primal Golden Cuffs. This one is a phenomenal accessory, and I don't understand how it's so absurdly cheap right now for what it offers. It gives strength 4, hit chance 110, and heavy attack chance 87. Now if you check the auction house right now, I believe Primal Golden Cuffs, it's worth like 260 lucent, so it's very affordable for free-to-play users, and I highly recommend this one if you're going for a hit chance build specifically. So that's the reason why I put that here. Very budget friendly. The next one is the Symbol of Nature's Advance. This one's also great for spear users. I remember when T2 first came out, this ring specifically was very expensive, like around 3k to 4k, I think. I sold a couple of them, I remember, from world bosses. The rewards I got from getting a high rank in world bosses. But now it's yeah, it went from, I used to sell them for like 3k and it's dropped to 500 lucent pretty much. So highly recommend getting this ring, as it's as a budget friendly one. You can also go for the runed band of the Black Anvil, I believe. Runed band, if you have that one. But the reason why I didn't put that is because although the price has dropped significantly over the weeks, it's still pretty expensive at 5k lucent. I don't expect a free-to-play player to, you know, drop that much straight up for this, especially when you're still building out like your entire Auric Vanguard set over here, because the drop rates for these gear are abysmally low. And yeah, you know, like it's definitely, the prices have dropped significantly, but the important pieces like the chest plate, right, and the boots, they're still up there at 5k each, and which is why I haven't bought them yet. You know, I think it's still too expensive, and I'm afraid that they're gonna do something like they did in Tier 1, where I remember the Shock Commander Sabatons were like, let me see, here, Shock Commander Sabaton. I remember at one point in Tier 1, these Shock Commander Sabatons were like 12k for this one lithograph, you know? And then, like, overnight, they released the, a new loot table for the open world Abyss dungeon, Silius Abyss, and they made it so that the monsters over there drop these Sabatons, and the price just sank like overnight. Literally, it went from 12k to like 500 Lucent, and then over time to 100, and you know, as you can see, it's already like practically worthless. But I'm not entirely sure they're gonna do that with the Auric Vanguard set, but hence why I'm holding off on it for now. That's pretty much the reason why. Next up, we got the Solitaire of Purity. This is also another ring that provides hit chance. So far, the 3 accessories I've talked about, the core thing is that they do provide hit chance, as you can see here. The Primal Golden Cuffs provide 110 hit chance. The Symbol of Nature's Advance offers 130 hit chance, and the Solitaire of Purity also offers a nice 113 hit chance. But this is great because it gives you stats in dexterity and strength, which are much needed stats for us, as well as attack speed. So you can't go wrong with attack speed if you're really skilled at rotating your combos. You know, it's still a must. And finally, the belt. I don't believe there was any belt that provided hit chance at all, so I went with my default belt, which is the one I currently have right now. It's kind of like the budget version of BIS for free-to-play users at the moment, because like there's one that's, where is it, the Undisputed Champions belt. You know, this is just slightly better, but it costs like 100k Lucent, so don't even, you know, worry about that one. I would go with this one as a placeholder for now. You know, it's achievable, affordable, and yeah, let's check the price of those last 2 accessories. Solitaire of Purity. So you can see here, 278, very affordable, and the Hero's Legacy War Belt, 284. So they're all pretty much around the same price. This one's just a tad bit more expensive than the other 3, you know? And yeah, they all offer great stats as well. I was able to achieve my stat thresholds with these specific gear. So 60 strength, 70 dexterity, 60 perception, and 50 fortitude. Now ideally I'd want to go to 70 perception, so I'm still testing that out eventually, see if I can scale these a bit better, but at the moment this is what I have. And the reason why I put the Primal Ritual Collar, even though it doesn't really offer any hit chance, I don't believe there is anything that offers hit chance here. Let's check. So let's go to Tier 2 only. Let's go to accessories, yeah. And then let's go to, was it necklace? Yeah. Hit chance right here. Yeah. So there are only 2 accessories, I believe, that offer hit chance. And both of these are like free-to-play locked. Like you cannot realistically aim for these as a free-to-play player, as you can see here. Let's try typing the first one. Noble Birthright Breach. This one I believe is locked behind an arch boss. Yeah, there's none on sale. The last one that did go on sale for a lithograph was 150k. That's insane. I don't even know how it gets that high, honestly, for a game like this. Like, who actually spends that much, you know? Caller of Nature's Wrath. I mean, thank you for supporting the game, you know, supporting the devs. Hopefully they can balance it out more in the future, though, for us free-to-play. But I don't know. So let's see here. Caller of Nature's Wrath. This one's also 100k. Yeah, definitely not. You know, it's not even that great in my opinion for our class specifically. I mean, it does give hit chance and, you know, perception, but you sacrifice a lot of other core stuff to achieve that. And it's pretty much not great. So the reason I ended up going with this primal ritual caller is because it helped me get the last stat threshold I needed. Pretty much that's it, and mostly for the cooldown speed as well. So initially I had the Deep Draconic Gorget, or Gorget, I don't know how to pronounce it. This is my current DPS necklace for my PvE build, and as you can see here, I wasn't able to achieve the stat threshold of 60 for strength, so I ended up just going with what's it called, the Primal Ritual Caller for the extra cooldown speed, because this build currently lacks that as well without it. Where is it? Yeah, I'm at like 22 right now. If I go to the Primal Ritual, that'll net me to 25. So just a tad bit more cooldown speed, and the ability to get this perfect stat threshold here of 60 strength, 70 dexterity, 60 perception, and 42 50. Now keep in mind the reason I'm able to achieve this stat threshold as well, I wanted to bring this up, is because in my mastery builds I unlocked the 520 here, right? Like I'm currently not there yet, but just to let you guys know, to not screw you guys over, this is what allows me to get that, like, this is pretty much like that one ring. What was it called again? The ring everyone wanted in tier 1. Band of Universal Power, I think? Yeah, this ring. So this is pretty much like the Band of Universal Power, where it gives you a stat point in each category. So that's what helped me get these stat thresholds. In case you guys are building this and you're like, oh, why am I not achieving this? That's because of, you know, this one right here. You want to unlock level 520 as soon as you can. And I'll go through the masteries later. So that's pretty much it for my hit chance build. Hopefully that wasn't too long. Just wanted to go through it in depth with you guys, just to give you my reasoning on why I chose to aim for these accessories specifically. As a free-to-play player, you know, it's very hard to get Lucent right now, and sometimes you just have to get really lucky. So this is definitely a build that I would aim for as a free-to-play player. And if you can afford, you know, trying to get these builds, or trying to get these accessories and items, I mean. So next I want to go through the my main PvE build. Now, like I said, this is pretty much my go-to PvE build, but this is like the BIS in my opinion, like for maximum damage accessories and whatnot. But as you can see, these are also all Nebula accessories, so I wouldn't recommend, you know, trying to go for these anytime soon. So I made a budget version for you guys, and it's currently what I'm using as well. As you can see here, let me show you my current build at 5,789 combat power. I pretty much have that entire build already. It's just I'm missing my 2-piece Imperial Seeker for I'll show you why right now. So core things here, I replaced the spear with the new weapons that came out, the Crimson Hellskewer, which recently came out. It does a lot of damage compared to the Pakilo Naru spear. This one has a maximum damage of 101 to 265, while this one has 105 to 274. So it has a higher base damage, max damage. And not only that, but the passive effect for this spear specifically increases your DPS with your spear skills. So damage dealt by Vicious Fury, Brutal Fury, and Explosive Fury increases by 8%. Now, that is huge because that works for both your PvE builds, which I'm going to show you, and your bossing build, because it applies to all types of fury attacks that you use with your spear. And also to note, on critical hit, cooldown of Cyclonic Fury and Phoenix Barrage decrease by 5% proportional to time rating. So this helps you like just really smoothen out your combo rotations, and it really helped me do as much damage fighting the bosses. Like I could notice the difference in cooldown speed when I would apply my combos versus using the spear I had been using prior to the release of the Crimson Hellskewer. And pretty much I went for like attack speed and attack speed on both my weapons because I'm mainly using this for PvE while I'm using the Pakilo Naru for PvP. And if you can't afford like both of them, I would this is perfectly fine to use in PvP as well. You just won't get the added CC resistances from the Naru spear. But this, I see a lot of people using this as well, especially because it's affordable and it's craftable. You know, you can, as long as you get those 400 loyalty tokens, you can just craft it right away. And it's a great spear. This is definitely, I think, in my opinion, this might even be better than the Archboss spear. Of course, I can't test that out, but just looking at the stats alone and the, I know it has a lower base damage, but looking at the passive, it was built for PvE. Like, this is meant to do as much damage to, like, monsters and bosses as much as possible. So, that's the Crimson Hellskewer currently using. The thing I like about this budget version build is I was actually able to achieve 90 dexterity here. I think the only other class I've seen achieve that high of a dexterity was like Liberator, I think. One of my Alliance members, I think, posted a screenshot of them getting like over 100 dexterity, and I've never seen that before, so that was really cool. But in this build, you are able to achieve 90 dexterity, and here I'll show you how I was able to get that with all of these items combined. And the great thing about this is a super affordable build. The only thing that isn't as affordable but is kind of crucial to this build is the Imperial Seeker's tunic 2-piece set with the boots. Now these are locked behind world bosses or guild raid bosses, so that's also the reason why I don't have them yet. And currently, let's check the shop here. Let's see how much they're going. I think they're going for like over 10k right now. Currently these are like, oh man, like 8k for the tunic, the chestplate, and damn, 17k for the boots. So it's crazy expensive right now. I would hold off on that. If you want, you could just perhaps build up your Auric Vanguard first and then just sync it later to your Imperial Seeker, which is probably what I'm gonna do. So yeah, this is like the biggest issue to building this build specifically is getting these two pieces. Everything else is pretty cheap. Like you can go for the Forgotten Lotus mask 2-piece with the gloves. This is great. This is like your BIS 2-piece for your hat and your gloves for PvE, as well as this cape, Starlight Fur Cloak. This gives heavy attack chance and critical hit chance. You know, this one, these are pretty much like, I won't go through all of it because you guys could look it up later, but these give like a good mix of cooldown speed, heavy attack chance, and critical hit chance. Because the key thing to note about our class is a lot of our skills require high crit chance, because the more crit chance we have, the more we're able to apply our skills effects. Like when it comes to burst and ignite, a lot of the effects that do more damage, like explosion and stuff like that, it requires us to land critical hits, you know, especially ignite. Very crucial to have high crit chance. So this is a build focused on achieving as much crit chance and heavy attack chance as much as possible. And it's a budget friendly build too, so it's nice. So I want to go through with you guys. I went for the 2-piece set for the hat and gloves, Forgotten Lotus, 2-piece Imperial Seeker for the tunic, the chestplate, and the boots. I went with the Starlight Fur Cloak, and I went with the Feral Prophet's pants as an off piece because it gives a lot of critical hit chance and dexterity as well. So now off to the accessories. Here's the important part. These are pretty much like the budget versions of the Nebula accessories, you know, like Deep Draconic Gorget or Gorget, and the bracelet of the Violent Undertow. These are great accessories to have. Let me check how much they cost right now. I think they're a little more on the pricier side, but definitely still affordable. And they have dropped quite tremendously in price. Like, yeah, this one is 1,000 Lucent, but it was originally like at, I think, like 2,000 when it first came out. So it's dropped significantly, and also the bracelet of the violent undertow. Oh, violence. Yeah, it's about 1400. Not bad compared to the Nebula, of course. And then, like I said, with the Symbol of Nature's Advance is a very budget-friendly ring as well as the Ring of Eternal Flames. This is more of like a stat stick ring that also offers critical hit chance, which is nice. I think this one is the cheapest one of all of them. Yeah, it's only at 300 lucid, so it's this was the first ring I ended up going for coming into T2 because of how cheap it was. And then I went for this one as well. So if you have like the Rune Band of the Black Anvil, you can go for that because it does offer... It's also like a stat stick, just like this ring, except it offers heavy attack chance as well. However, it's like priced over 5k, right? So it's understandable that you wouldn't want to go for this since it's still pretty expensive. So if you want a budget-friendly option, you can go for this ring instead. And it also helps you achieve like 90 dexterity for maximum crit chance, you know. And finally, I went with the same old Heroes Legacy War belts. This is my go-to belt that I got from the dungeon, as well as... I like that these two are farmable from the dungeons. These two are farmable from Burkant, I believe. And I forgot where this one came from, but I feel like this one's pretty much farmable as well. Not only that, this Crimson Hellskewer is also craftable and farmable as well, so... Yeah, just to reiterate, pretty much the only core issues with this one are the Imperial Seeker's Tunic set and probably the Greatsword. If you want like a budget-friendly Greatsword, if you don't have access to the Naru, you could either go with the new Grey Eye Greatsword, which is nice too, or because it offers a lot of cooldown speed actually, so it's really nice. You can go with this Greatsword, or you can go with the Immortal Titanic Quake Blade if you're looking into PvP as well, because it does give a lot of hit chance and collision chance. So I guess if you want to do both and try to save Lucent, you could just invest in the Immortal Titanic Quake Blade for both PvE and PvP, and then go for the Grey Eye if you're just strictly PvE. Yeah, but if you do have the opportunity to go for this Greatsword, I highly recommend it for PvE specifically, as this is definitely a go-to for me, and it's helped me achieve the ranks I have in World Boss. So yeah, that's my build, pretty much. Now I just want to go through, that's it with my build, right? Yeah. So now I want to show you what I currently have. The same thing as my PvE build. This is what I've been building slowly up to this point, and eventually I'll go with the Auric Vanguard set and sync it to my build. So as soon as you like finish your PvE set, you can begin to unlock these slots in the sync setup, and you can like apply your PvP gear to it, like my Auric Vanguard here, you know. So now that I've gone over that build, oh man, shoot, took quite a bit of time explaining that, sorry guys. Now I want to go through, hang in there with me, now I want to go through my skill rotations. There you go. Okay, let me get a drink real quick. So I have two main rotations right now. I'm still working on the PvP aspect of my rotations, so bear with me here. Today I'm only going to showcase two, which is my main PvE skill rotation and my bossing skill rotation. So I'm gonna go explain this from the very base setup right now. These are the skills that I ended up going for. If you want to maximize and capitalize on as much AoE damage as possible, this is pretty much the build I made for that. These are all my skills here, you know, core things for AoE. Frost Cleaving, you know, your bread and butter, Flaming Arc into Explosive Fury into Javelin Inferno, and then your third combo, your Abyssal Cleave and Phoenix Barrage. So pretty much your two buffs here to buff you up, Unyielding Sentinel and Da Vinci's Courage, and then you can follow it up with your standard combos. Here are my passives: Imposing Form, Mortal Wrath, Retaliatory Strike, Raging Frenzy, Robust Constitution, Vital Force, Cold Warrior, and Victor's Morale. Now let me show you guys the standard combo. I usually start up with the buffs, then I dash into like this is for like dungeons and open world farming, you know, like abyss dungeons and co-op dungeons and the like. So I just start up with my combos, I dash to the enemy, I use my ignite combo pretty much. And you could follow it up with like Precision Dash and Da Vinci's Courage for the 2 buffs. Now the reason I put these 2, I forgot to explain, is you guys already know about the Cruel Smite damage modifier, right? And then there's also a modifier for Precision Dash, which enables you to get heavy attack chance, I believe, yeah, by 160 for 3 seconds. So if you apply this and then this, it should help make your attacks have a higher chance of dealing heavy attack damage and also increasing your damage in general from Cruel Smite. So if I usually start off with like my buffs, use my ignite combo before I use my Javelin Inferno. That's when I Precision Dash and then into Javelin Inferno. Then I follow it up with Frost Cleaving to increase the attack speed as well, Abyssal Cleave, and then finally my Phoenix Barrage to like secure the killing all the mobs. And then basically you just keep rotating. If they're still alive, you just do the same combo over and over and over again. Sometimes I like to switch it up, put Frost Cleaving instead to give more attack speed to my Javelin Inferno, like that. And then if my Abyssal Cleave is still on cooldown, sometimes I just use the Phoenix Barrage. Yeah. That's pretty much it for my rotation. This is something you could play around with a lot. It's not definite, but it's definitely for maximizing your AoE damage as much as possible, like your core skills, your first combo Ignite, into your Frost Cleaving, into Abyssal Cleave and Phoenix Barrage. It definitely helps a lot when you're clearing monsters like in Crimson B3, you know, where it's difficult to kill with a lot of members. So now that I went over that, I want to show you guys my next setup right here. So this is my oh sorry, I forgot to show you guys my skill specializations here. Let me go through that. So this is what I went through, and I'll show you, I've linked all of these as well into my quest log if you guys want to see that. Feel free to look it up over there, and if you have any questions, be sure to let me know. I'll try to get back to you about it as soon as possible. I went with these 3 right here. Standard PvE, you know, Blood Leech Aura, the 2 buffs to get maximum healing from it. Phoenix Barrage, all 3 specs to get like maximum damage as well. Important thing to note here, Abyssal Cleave, I ticked this one off to specifically for Phoenix Barrage. So what this does is the next skill that you use after this is going to do a truckload of damage, and basically this spec from Phoenix Barrage does a truckload more damage if the skill before it like was a stun or a sleep, a CC basically. So these 2 go hand in hand together and increase the damage by a lot. Next I went with these, pretty much the shield just for survivability, and here you go. I didn't take like Guillotine Blade or Deathblow or anything because this is strictly for farming, you know, my open world PvE skills that I use to just fight monsters, do contracts, you know, co-op dungeons and the like. And then when it comes time to fight the bosses, this is the skill rotation I use to achieve those world boss ranks. So let me go through this one with you guys very carefully, as this is the more important one. This is the one I spent a lot of time, a lot of months, like just capitalizing and making so much like experimentation into it to really perfect the rotation. And I think I've achieved that with this, but feel free to let me know if you guys have any suggestions or improvements to it, if anything. But for the most part, the one thing I want to explain here, the first thing I want to explain is this is separated into 3 combos. Your standard Greatsword combo, which is Willbreaker over here. Will Breaker into Valiant Brawl, into Stunning Blow, and then into Guillotine Blade. Now, like I said, this is strictly for bosses, not for PvP or anything, so let me explain how this goes. So Will Breaker basically is like your shield penetrator. Like this will decrease the boss's defense for 6 seconds, and it increases if you have like, actually it doesn't increase because buff duration doesn't apply to that. But for 6 seconds, you have the opportunity to do more damage to the boss because you decrease their defenses, right? I start off the combo with Sentinel's Bastion and Da Vinci's Courage, and then I proceed to do my Greatsword combo. You want to start off with Will Breaker, and then go to Valiant Brawl to apply that damage modifier I was talking about earlier, right? The this one right here. After skill is used, damage increases by 5% for 2 seconds. So with the Naru Greatsword, you're able to apply this like over and over and over again, thankfully. So if you don't have it, that's still fine. You just have to rotate your combos a little more differently than how I do, and I'll see if I can try to showcase some of that with the Dentist Greatsword, just to show you guys what it's like without the Naru. So yeah, you want to go Will Breaker into Valiant Brawl, and then immediately follow up Valiant Brawl with Stunning Blow. So as you can see here, you're practically setting up your damage. You're setting up as much damage as you can for your final hit here, which is Guillotine Blade, right? So Will Breaker into Valiant Brawl into Stunning Blow. Now Stunning Blow has a skill specialization here that allows you to do, it's kind of like the Abyssal Cleave, right? Where the next skill used after this ends up doing ends up having a 150% increase to its skill damage boost. So, which would pretty much be your Guillotine Blade. And when it comes to bosses, because they don't get stunned, they end up getting shocked, and that increases the duration of the shock. So that applies this damage buff. Your Guillotine Blade does when it does it deals more damage to enemies that are also prone or shocked. So this is specifically for bosses and not PvP. This stun ends up not applying the stun, is what I'm trying to say, and it ends up applying shock instead. And what that shock does is it enables the Guillotine Blade to do just that much more damage. That's why I have it immediately follow up the Stunning Blow into Guillotine Blade. And then the shock duration should still be up, because 9.4 seconds is a long time, right? So it should still be up for you to apply Death Blow, which does do, it's like the mini Guillotine Blade. It also does more damage when the enemy is like CC'd, like shocked as well, you know. So yeah, I immediately follow, this is what the rotation is going to look like. You kind of just start off with your buffs, and then Will Breaker into Valiant Brawl, Stunning Blow, Guillotine Blade, and then I try, because I have the Naru Greatsword, my Valiant Brawl was able to, you know, come back up before before I used Death Blow, so I'm able to buff the Death Blow up with that as well. You see what I'm saying? I know it's a little complicated, but if you can afford to get that Greatsword, you can really see the difference in your combos here. Typically without the Greatsword, I'd do something like this, and then I'd go like straight into the Death Blow. But if I get the Naru's effect to successfully proc, I would end up using Valiant Brawl to apply another tick of that damage modifier so that I can do more damage with Death Blow as well. Yeah. So now that's the general setup combo for Greatsword. Now I want to show you guys the spear combos. So this is your main damage combo for applying to bosses. And you have two sub combos, what I like to call them. You have your initial burst combo, which is Gale Rush into Culling Arc and Brutal Fury. And then you have your second sub burst combo, which is Cyclonic Fury and Slaughtering Slash. Now, initially, before I get into this, I wanted to try including the, where is it, right here. I wanted to go with the Abyssal Cleave combo into Phoenix Barrage, but the skill specialization points just wouldn't allow for it, you know. So thankfully I did read on the weapon that the cooldown decrease also applies to Cyclonic Fury, not just Phoenix Barrage. So this is perfectly viable to use with the spear. What I was afraid of was that I wouldn't be able to maximize using the spear's effects if I had like Cyclonic Fury, you know. But the great thing about Cyclonic Fury is after you use up your burst stacks from Gale Rush, Culling Arc, and your Brutal Fury combo, because after you use this 3 combo right here, you're gonna have 0 burst stacks, right? This is all to set up these 2, Gale Rush and Culling Arc, is to set up enough burst so that once you use Brutal Fury, which is like the single target specialization to kill bosses, once you use this, you'll be at 0 burst stacks, you know. You get 5 burst stacks from using these 2 skills together, and then when you apply this, you do as much damage as possible with all 5 burst stacks. Now, you'll be at 0, and the great thing about Cyclonic Fury is, I believe here, as you use this skill, yeah, right here, as you can see here, when you use this skill, each attack, it does 5 attacks, and with each attack, it applies burst, so it automatically regenerates 5 burst stacks as soon as you use all of these skills, right? So once you use this initial combo, the Gale Rush into Culling Arc into Brutal Fury, you'll be at 0 stacks again. You use Cyclonic Fury, you're at 5 burst stacks again. And why is that important? Because of this next skill, the Slaughtering Slash skill. What this does is, at 5 burst stacks, it explodes the target. So when you use Cyclonic, it's the perfect skill to use right after Cyclonic Fury. As soon as you get 5 burst stacks, it just does a truckload of damage, basically, to multiple targets around you. However, if a target is by itself, most likely the boss, right? It explodes all of that damage onto the boss itself. So it's really great. It's really strong for high DPS, you know, killing the bosses. This is why I prefer this over the what's it called? Phoenix Barrage skill, because although Phoenix Barrage is really powerful, it costs a whopping freaking 10 points into, you know, it's just not worth it. You know, you can't get the same effects, and you're also losing some DPS because it's more of like an AoE skill. Like, it's great for executing targets in PvP as well, but this just like perfectly balances out to 0 skill specs, and I've been using this skill setup for as long as I can remember now. Like, this is pretty much my go-to boss killing setup, and I've been wanting to share this with all my gladiators out there for the longest time, as this has helped me get top 5 consistently in world bosses, like pretty much all the time. So, and as a 5.7k CP as well, I know that's pretty high right now for free to play, as I have access to a great guild. You know, our guild has been pretty up to date and active when it comes to guild raids, so I was able to get a couple of good stuff from our guild raids using DKP. And I understand that not all free to play players have access to something like that. So if you ever want to join a guild like ours, you know, and get a chance to earn some DKP over time to eventually, you know, bid on something like the Greatsword or another weapon that you like, you know, they're always free to do so. You know, we're at Moonstone, and our guild name is Cygnus, just to reiterate. But yeah, so let's test this combo out now. Usually what I do, typically the main combo, you want to start off with your main combo to maximize the buff time of these buffs. But what I've been doing, because I've been experimenting a little bit differently with my Naru Greatsword, because I have cooldown on it, I usually go with my first initial burst combo, and then I go use my main Greatsword combo, and then I use my second burst combo, if you catch my drift. Let me show you guys to make it easier. So typically without the Greatsword, I would have done like something like this. Like, I'd go like buffs and then Willbreaker into my Greatsword combo, and then I'd go into my burst combo, just like that. But as you can see, as soon as it ends, you know, I'm kind of like, everything's on cooldown, and it kind of sucks. So I've been experimenting a bit, because currently, let me check my stats right now. I'm at 60% base attack speed with my gear, which is pretty high. However, that doesn't mean much if you don't have high cooldown, which I kind of do have high cooldown on this build as well. Yeah, I have almost 40% cooldown speed, so it's pretty high. That's really high to achieve, and that's almost like about as much as you can achieve as a free-to-play. I think it's like maybe 40 to 50 is a good amount. If you can go to 50, try going for that, but this is pretty much what I currently have at the moment. I would say maybe at least get like half the cooldown speed of your attack speed to make it really balanced, you know. But this attack speed and cooldown speed combo is what allowed me to like really just keep barraging the bosses with my skill rotations as much as possible. It allowed me to do as much DPS within the time span of defeating the bosses, because they deplete really fast, and the more attack speed and cooldown speed you have, despite like not having as much other stats like heavy attack chance or all that, the more of these that you have, the more chances you have of applying damage. And the more chances you have at applying damage within a given amount of time, the more contribution you're going to do to the boss, which allows you to get more a higher rank, so to say. So let me show you guys my actual rotation now. I start off with my 2 buffs, and then I go with my first initial burst combo into my Greatsword combo, and then my second burst combo. And from then on, I just pretty much wing it. Like I try to use my, how do I say it? I try to use my, you know, I just, my intuition on what to use next. Like whatever is off cooldown, I try to combo. Sometimes if I see like this says 1 or 2 seconds off, you know, I'll wait for it a bit and then I'll use the full Greatsword combo, or like I'll show you right now. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. So right there. Valiant Brawl didn't go off. I'll use it again to do my second combo. There you go. Then right here, Gale Rush into Valiant Brawl. Keep the modifier up as much as possible. Keep the combo alive. There you go. Valiant Brawl again. Now we go to the main Greatsword combo right here. 3, 2, 1. Now everything's starting to reset perfectly. Valiant Brawl again to get the damage modifier up. Here we go. Buffs are coming back up. Let's use the buffs. Valiant Brawl into Death Blow. Now Greatsword combo is coming back up. Right there. Nice. Then back here. Burst combo. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that didn't go that time. Okay. There you go. And that's pretty much it. You guys catch like the drift pretty much of what I'm going for here. If you saw my initial combo where I went with the Greatsword skills first, it kind of just fell flat and I had to wait a bit, you know, but thankfully with the Naru Greatsword I was able to get this cooldown like as low as possible so I can weave it. The goal of using Valiant Brawl is to weave it in between your combos so you can apply the damage modifier as much as possible to all of your skills across the board, which in turn allows you to do as much damage as possible over time, if that makes sense. So my go-to combo, I just start off with my, just to reiterate, I start off with my first burst combo here, then I go to my main Greatsword combo, and I finally finish it off with my secondary burst combo here. Yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now let me show you guys the skill specs of what I went for. Valiant Brawl, I took off everything else but the damage modifier, of course, because keep in mind this is strictly for excuse me, this is strictly for single target bossing right here, you know, so the only thing you really need is this damage modifier. You don't need any of these. This is aggro for tanks, and this is AoE for PvE farming. So precision dash, I would have loved to get the heavy attack boost duration increase. Oh wait, actually I don't use the heavy attack boost in this build. I use it on the PvE one, so that's the reason why I don't have it there. But I forgot to mention earlier, in the PvE one I would have loved to use this here. I just didn't have enough points, so if you guys want to experiment with that, feel free to do so. But for my PvE bossing build, I don't use the precision. I think it kind of messes with the combo too, honestly. For strictly heavy attack chance and increase to heavy attack chance for 3 seconds, it's not enough to, you know, unless you get this, of course, it's not enough to really maximize putting all your skills in. You'd have to sacrifice one of these core abilities, is what I'm saying. Like, I'm thinking, you can't really sacrifice anything here. Like, these two are bread and butter together, you know, and these three are linked together. So if I were to sacrifice any of these skills for it, it would probably have to be Death Blow, which is kind of a no-no because Death Blow does do a truck ton of damage, you know. Like, sometimes I've seen when I heavy attack with a Death Blow, it does more damage than a Guillotine Blade that doesn't heavy attack. So it's very reliable damage, and I would not take Precision Dash over it just for the extra chance. If it were guaranteed heavy attack chance, maybe, you know, but it's just an extra 160 heavy attack chance, you know, for 3 seconds too, so it's easy to screw up the entire combo if you're already trying to apply as many buffs as possible, like Will Breaker and Valiant Brawl, you know, because these two are like your bread and butter for applying as much damage, and then of course you follow it up with Stunning Blow. So these three skills in general pretty much are all building up to give your Guillotine Blade the maximum potential to do as much damage as possible. And adding in a fifth skill there, like Precision Dash, it screws it over. Like, I've tried several times. It just, the buff maybe my buff duration isn't high enough, even though I think I pretty much have a really high buff duration. Where can I find that? Right here. I have a 59% buff duration, so even with that, testing it, and it still screws it over, like, I just don't recommend it, you know. But of course, you could test it out yourself too if you'd like. That's one of the skills I would have wanted to put in there if I had more skill slots, pretty much, and more time to do it. But yeah, pretty much there you go. That's my combo here. The next skill spec I want to go over with is the Stunning Blow. I go with the cooldown decrease to, you know, it's pretty obvious, like, to get this up as much as possible again. Same thing with like Death Blow and Guillotine Blade. I have the skill cooldown decrease specs for all three of them, so I can spam them as much as possible. That's what allowed me to do that rotation there. As you saw, I wouldn't have been able to efficiently rotate between all three combos if it weren't for that skill cooldown decrease, you know. It would have like fell flat just like the first combo. So the next thing I go for is the damage increase. This is the modifier for Guillotine Blade, so I can do as much damage. And the great thing about this is by using Stunning Blow, it doesn't just apply to Guillotine Blade, but because it hits a boss, right, like I said earlier, because instead of stunning a boss, it shocks them, the duration applies to Death Blow as well. So this ends up doing a lot of damage too, even though it necessarily doesn't benefit from this damage increase, because this only applies for the skill used after it, which would be Guillotine Blade. This still does get a damage bonus from the shock effect that Stunning Blow gives when you apply it to a boss. So that's why this is like a holy trinity of Greatsword skills that I like to go for. And yeah, that's my secret Greatsword build there. Here, now let's go to the spears. For Culling Arc, I go for all of these skill specs. Pretty much this is just to allow it to obtain as many and consistently attain as much burst stacks as possible. Like these three skills, you want to have these to apply burst, but also not like lose it midway through some skill that you use. Like this helps you consistently apply burst stacks along with Gale Rush, so that when you use Brutal Fury, you can do as much damage as possible. And I even ticked off this one. Originally I had this off and I had it somewhere like Unyielding Shield, or I think Slaughtering Slash's Bursting Echo. This is more AoE though, so it doesn't really matter for bosses. The reason I applied this actually is because this is really important, because I didn't know at first how useful this would be. Sometimes when I would fight a boss, right, like I said earlier in the video, you need high crit to achieve getting like stacks, right? Sometimes my Gale Rush is off cooldown, and I can only rely on my Culling Arc. Now this one adds 1 burst stack when Culling Arc lands as a critical hit. Now if I didn't tick this off, this would only apply 4 burst stacks. So essentially this is kind of like giving you a failsafe Like, in case your Gale Rush is off, if you have enough critical hit chance, and it does land as a critical hit, you get 5 burst stacks straight up from Culling Arc, and then you can use that to apply the 3 attacks from Brutal Fury. So if I didn't have this up, it'd be wildly inconsistent. I would have some like, as you saw, sometimes you can have like 3 attacks, sometimes you can have 1. It also depends on like your combo speed. Like if you're doing it really fast like I am, you can potentially like miscalculate and, you know, lose out on the burst stack, and your Brutal Fury ends up falling flat and not doing the 3 attacks it's meant to do. So this kind of helps it in a way. This is what it's for. What this does is whenever like a boss or any monster is CC'd, pretty much, it allows you to use an additional attack of Brutal Fury. So whereas you use 3, right? If you were to fall short because you didn't crit here or your Gale Rush is off cooldown, if you were to fall short and you can only like use 2, this would pretty much save you if you had applied your Stunning Blow combo or beforehand, or any other CC effect. Because Stunning Blow, as you can see here, has a duration of 9.4 seconds. 9.4 seconds is a long time when you have this much attack speed and cooldown speed. 9.4 seconds allows you to pretty much reset your entire combo, and what this does is it allows you the chance to attack a 3rd time if you were to not be able to, if that makes sense, because of the shock duration from your Stunning Blow. So that's why I ticked this off, because when I had this off, I noticed that there are times in my combo where I would just like, you know, use Brutal Fury and it wouldn't like, I wasn't able to use all 3 attacks at once. But as soon as I tick this spec on, I'm able to like actually consistently hit 3 times if ever my Gale Rush is off cooldown or my Culling Arc, you know. So that's the reason why I have this on, and pretty much these 2 are like the bread and butter for just more damage. Damage increases 15%, 5 burst stacks, and you know, this allows it to actually become Brutal Fury. Gale Rush, important thing with Gale Rush is this one. This is specifically for the boss. When using the first Gale Rush on a boss, immediately gain the maximum attack speed stack. So this just allows you to completely obliterate the boss by giving yourself the maximum attack speed to fight against it. And then this one also increases the duration of that boost, so it goes hand in hand together. What's next? Sentinel's Bastion. I changed it to the from Unyielding Sentinel to Sentinel's Bastion, so I can just straight up get the 200 heavy attack chance, as well as helping out my party members, you know, versus having to wait over here, and you kind of lose out on damage if you have to wait, you know. And it doesn't give as much heavy attack chance as well. It only gives 130 per target, so if you're using this against the boss, you're actually getting less heavy attack chance. So this is great if you're like going against like my PvE build, right, where you have like a lot of monsters around you. This will give you a crazy amount of heavy attack chance. However, if you're going against a boss, you typically want Sentinel's Bastion, so you can get heavy attack chance as much as possible with and giving it to your party members too. Next up, Slaughtering Slash. You get explosives damage and Slaughtering Slash right here. So this is initially it's Rising Slash. This is what enables it to become Slaughtering Slash, and hence giving it that boost in explosion damage, you know, once you apply 5 burst stacks to it. See, as you can see here, burst or ignite explosion damage increases by 20% per stack. So as soon as you get 5 burst stacks, that's a 100% increase total. That's a lot of freaking damage. Like, this is crazy damage right here compared to, like, you know, just going Phoenix Barrage into, you know. So what you want to do is you want to apply this right here. Cyclonic Fury, I ticked this one off. Increases critical damage by 15% for 3 seconds, to immediately follow it up with Slaughtering Slash, because once I use this, right, I get 5 burst stacks from it, while also giving it a damage modifier. I'm giving it a critical damage modifier 15% for 3 seconds. Kind of like the Valiant Brawl skill, right? Except this one is 3 seconds. And if you have buff duration, this can also apply over to like your other skills too, if you have enough, you know, buff duration. But this does not have the same cooldown as Valiant Brawl, unfortunately. So whereas this one has a 6.5 second cooldown. The Cyclonic Fury has a 19.5 second cooldown. So it's fairly inconsistent compared to Valiant Brawl when it comes to applying that damage modifier here, the critical damage. But the great news is that if you immediately follow it up with Slaughtering Slash, you not only do you get a 15% critical damage on top of the 100. When you combine the two together, you get 100% burst or ignite explosion damage plus the critical damage modifier. So imagine you crit with this 100% damage, and then you have this modifier. It's just a crap ton of damage, you know. And that's pretty much it for my skill specializations here. So I'll go through it once more with you guys. Here's my pretty much, I forgot to go through my passives. It's almost exactly the same as my PvE ones. However, I just replaced one passive, Raging Frenzy, because this is more so like if you have multiple targets around you, it increases your damage. This one I used Fatal Precision instead, because as you can see here, on weakening a target, my attack speed increases by 2.9% for 3 seconds, and it stacks up to 5 times. So as you have a lot of weaken abilities, right? Weaken burst, like you're going to weaken a lot, and you're gonna stack it. So if you stack this up, it's pretty much 3% for each stack, right? And it stacks up to 5 times, so that's like 15% extra attack speed. That's huge, and that's great for applying your combos a lot more smoothly. So this is really great for bosses, and I highly recommend this setup. This is my go-to boss killing setup, my secret build that I've been, you know, holding off for a long time. I've been wanting to show you guys for forever now, and I hope this really helps you guys. You know, this has definitely been really successful for me. Like I know a couple of people who have like 6k combat power over me, but it's like this rotation alone helps me achieve a higher rank than some of them. It really maximizes your damage, and I'm wondering, you know, what rank I could even achieve once I get my Imperial Seeker set. This isn't even like my maximum potential with this skill rotation, because my biggest two-piece effect comes from the Imperial Seeker set, which if we look at it over here, Imperial Seeker, if we see here, the two-piece effect is a critical damage increase straight up by 15%, and on each melee critical hit, your critical damage increases by 1% up to 10 stacks. So you get a base of 15%, and then typically you're going to maximize those stacks. So at 10 stacks, you're going to get a 10% critical damage increase. So total, you get 25% critical damage increase. That's what I'm missing right now. If I were to apply 25% critical damage onto all of my skills, on top of everything here, like I don't know, I can just imagine what kind of rank you'd get if you were to apply this combo specifically. If I could get rank 4 or even rank 2 and rank 1 at times with this combo, if you were able to fully get that set piece bonus effect, yeah, it'd be really nutty and crazy. Actually, I'm not even using my full capability here as well either. If you guys want to check out the Guardian I want to aim for, it's the Dreidel for the all attack power increase and cooldown speed. I currently haven't unlocked them yet because I've been lazy, so. But this is one of the tier 2 Guardians that I'm going for eventually, and when I go to bosses, I made each food of the specific type of boss, like undead food, demon damage, you know, humanoid, and wildkin. So that definitely helps a lot too in maximizing your world boss contribution ranks to get a higher chance of getting gear to draw for you, because it was really successful for me. Like I know I got really lucky, but most of that luck also comes down to what I've built, my gear. Like I focused purely on PvE first, and then eventually build PvP later on when I get more lucent. So a lot of the tier 2 gear, I noticed before when I wasn't doing as much damage, I wasn't getting as much tier 2 gear in the co-op dungeons as well. But as soon as I got like that Crimson Hellskewer, and I've been like just stealing aggro from the tanks all the time, I've been getting a lot of tier 2 drops to draw from the dungeons, you know, like the staff pretty much. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff I was able to get because of this build, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. So I hope that you guys also find this kind of success if you're out there, you're a free-to-play player just like me, I hope you could really use this build to your advantage. And yeah, I just wish you the best of luck with your drops in the future. So I'm gonna go over the rotation with you guys again one more time just to show you guys. I'm actually gonna time it here this time. I want to see how long it takes to take down this 5 million HP practice dummy, just for a test here. Okay, let's see. Here we go. I'm gonna go no Guardian, no food buffs, no Stellarite, no anything. Just purely skills, skill mastery, and then I'm gonna go over my masteries, and that's pretty much it for the video. So I'm gonna go over this rotation one more time with you guys, see how fast I can take this practice dummy down. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay, cooldowns fell short, unfortunately. It's okay. Replenish, death blow combo, and back Valiant Brawl. Okay. Back to the main Greatsword combo, here we go. 3. There we go. Waiting for the buffs to go up, there we go. Little breaker into Valiant Brawl, main Greatsword combo. Okay. Cooldowns. Okay, that one fell flat, unfortunately. Okay. Main Greatsword combo, here we go. Wait for Valiant Ball for death blow. 2, 3. Death blow. One of the things I really want to let you guys know about is the Valiant Brawl really synergizes well with the timing of death blow. I'm able to spam pretty much both of them nearly around the same time. It's really nice. Okay, there we go. Main burst combo. Nice reset into my Greatsword combo. Valiant Brawl into death blow. Okay. Valiant Brawl into Brutal Fury. Oh, it didn't get the stacks that time. That's okay. Okay. Main combo. Okay. Combo. Here we go. Reset the combo. Death blow one more time. Greatsword combo. There we go. Pause. So about 2 minutes and 54 seconds. That's how long it took to take down this practice dummy. Now keep in mind, I'm not able to fully showcase the damage potential of this because the practice dummy does get stunned, unfortunately. I wish they would make it so that it got shocked instead. But because it gets stunned, the damage does not apply to Guillotine Blade, greatly reducing it, and it only applies mostly to Death Blow. That I'm not sure if you guys saw, or I wasn't really paying attention as much either, but maybe if I replay this video, Death Blow may have done more damage than Guillotine Blade at some instances, perhaps, and that's pretty much the reason why, if it did. So unfortunately, I wish they would include like a practice dummy that does get shocked, like a boss, instead of stunned. So one thing to keep track of, that you're not really seeing the full damage potential of Guillotine Blade here. I tried to screenshot it one time. I believe a couple times actually. I've seen the highest I've achieved with this setup at the moment. Not a full DPS setup yet, but The highest damage I've seen with the Guillotine Blade, like unbuffed or no Stellarite or anything like that, going up against co-op dungeons, I've seen 89k times 2 as a heavy attack on a Guillotine Blade. So I think hitting a boss for 100k with your Guillotine Blade is definitely doable if you do end up like completing this build in the future. So hopefully I can show you guys sometime like some boss gameplay where I do hit those numbers. Maybe sometime in the future when I actually complete my set. Yeah. So that's how much it took. It took pretty much almost 3 minutes to take down this 5 million HP practice dummy. And let's see here. Last thing I'll go through with you guys is the Masteries. So the Masteries, you can also find this in my quest log. Although I'm not sure if I've completed this in my quest log. So I'll go through it over with you guys here to end the video. Let's go with my Greatsword Mastery. This is strictly for PvE. If you're like still at a lower mastery level with your Greatsword and Spear, I recommend just focusing entirely on the red tree, the right side. Don't even worry about these yet. This is like because I finished everything I needed to finish on this side for PvE strictly. So I went for everything here that I could get that pertains to damage, like critical hit chance, heavy attack chance. The only ones I ticked off were hit chance, melee hit chance here, and collision chance, melee hit chance. Melee hit chance, stamina regen. Because you don't really need these for PvE. Like hit chance is fruitless in PvE. So of course this will change in PvP, but I just want to show you guys my core PvE setup for Masteries here. And this is like once you finish this tree and you want to move on to the next one, you can focus more on this side over here and go with the I went with just the standard stuff that I need, like cooldown speed, you know, little bonuses I could shape, debuff duration, damage boost to all types, you know, buff duration of course. So the biggest ones here are probably cooldown speed, buff duration, and the damage boost to all types, just for doing as much damage as possible. And of course I went for all of these here. These are all like good damage bonuses for your Greatsword. And now let's move on to Spear. Same thing with Spear, focus on the right side first for PvE. Go for every single aspect that doesn't have like melee hit chance. This one has movement speed. I'm currently building this because I have spare points now. This one has melee hit chance and attack speed. I guess you could go for this for the attack speed, but not really. Like it's like 0.1%, you know. As you build it up, it'll probably be 1% attack speed, so it's up to you if you want to go for this one. I didn't go for it since it offered hit chance, and I don't really need hit chance in PvE, so this is also a hit chance here. But everything else I went for like critical hit chance, went for damage, critical damage, ignite damage, bonus damage, heavy attack chance, all the stuff, you know, all the bread and butter stuff. And then over here, same thing, same logic applies. I went for cooldown speed mostly, and just attack range here. I don't think these other, I guess this one gives max health. You could go for that if you have the extra points. You can go for range, you can go for stamina regen, you know. But pretty much if you're still like level 80 on your mastery or lower level, you can just focus on the right side first for now. And one tip, I think a couple of people have mentioned this already, but just to help out like newer players, if you didn't know already, one of the strategies, you want to unlock like your mastery skills as soon as possible. So currently I'm at 447, and how I was able to obtain that is because I leveled up these classes little by little over time. Like I would give them like 5 levels each over time. When you're farming PvE and like open world abyss dungeons, you want to have like your main weapons out to level them out, and then what you could do is use your saved up and accrued mastery experience to level up your other classes that you don't really like play, just to give it like an extra mastery level, to increase your mastery level little by little, so that you can eventually unlock these passives. So the latest one I unlocked actually was this one, Deadly Viper, which acts like a poison effect if I stay in place in combat for 4 seconds, and this does increase, like, you know, just a little boost to your DPS when you're fighting a boss. So little things like that help you out your damage over time. And then when I eventually go up to 520, right here, what I'm planning to do is get these two. I'm gonna replace this is currently a placeholder right now. Survival skills cooldown decreased by 3 seconds when defeating an enemy. It's not really that great. Maybe for PvE, but for bossing, not really. Like, it's useless. The two skills that I'm aiming for eventually is the Dragon Ascent. When your mana is 60% or higher, each attack with your active skill costs an additional 4% of your current mana, but you do a truckload of damage, 140% of base damage, and deal 7 per, like, this is pretty much like all those, like, people are saying, you know, Greatsword, Spear, we have great mana conservation, like, we don't run out of mana, right? Now, eventually, I have a feeling once we use this skill over here, that Dragon Ascent passive, we're gonna burn through mana like nothing, you know? Like, this is just gonna eat our mana, and this is where, like, equipment like such as a Deep Draconic Organ, which gives mana cost efficiency, this is where it comes in play, you know, like, it really helps out a lot. I think, yeah, here I have a mana cost efficiency trait on my Forgotten Lotus Mask as well, so those two are definitely gonna help once I go up those levels and obtain that mastery for my skills. So definitely, right now I don't really feel the difference because I don't really run out of mana, you know? But eventually, I plan ahead to get these traits up and going for that reason too. Let's see, what else can I show? And then finally, of course, like I said in my builds earlier, the other skill I want to go for is the Potential skill, which is pretty much like the Band of Universal Power. It just gives a stat point to each archetype by 1, and it really helps filling up all those stat thresholds. So it's really nice. So pretty much the go-to would be Destruction Spear, Deadly Viper, Dragon Ascent, and Potential. Like, these are your 3 DPS skills right here. Destruction Spear, upon landing 7 attack skills, fires a destructive spear that deals 240% of base damage to a single target. It only has a cooldown of 5 seconds too, and it's really nice. So this one, this one, this one, and this one eventually. So, oops. Let me take this off. Yeah, those are the skills I'm planning to go for. So that's pretty much it. Those are my masteries, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this guide. I know this one was pretty extensive. I hope this really helped a lot of people who've been wondering if they should switch to Gladiator or not, or, you know, kind of clarify the strengths of this class versus like the weaknesses too. I know some Gladiators, they build evasion, but I recommend going against it at the moment, not because I think evasion is subpar compared to endurance, but it's just like, as a free-to-play player, the more I think about it, the more inaccessible it seems to like build that, you know. Like, if you're gonna build evasion, you really are reliant on getting as much evasion as you can through those accessories, but those accessories are locked behind arch bosses, nebula bosses, you know, all the likes, and that's just whale territory, you know. So if you're a free-to-play player like me, I think endurance right now is the way to go. Plus, if you build up over here, if you build up your CC resistances through your runes, I go with like collision chance, or collision, sorry, that's a collision chance on the weapons, but I go with collision resistance on the runes. So what's it called, to help, because with endurance you can't avoid CC like evasion, like I said earlier, right? So I go with collision resistance to pretty much help out with that, because no matter how tanky you get, if you get stunned or if you get prone by a greatsword user, over time they're gonna tick off your HP like nothing, you know. But even with this amount of hit chance, even with, you know, like all this armor, I think you could still get destroyed by a Crusader or any kind of tank that uses their standard greatsword ability. However, the biggest counter to like tanks, which is like the meta at the moment, is collision resistance, you know, just straight up collision resistance. If they stun you but they can't prone you, they can't apply their big damage, you know. So really, really fruitful, really nice, and this spear really helps out a lot when it comes to that. Not only does it increase your collision resistance, but it also increases all resistances, so it applies to like other CCs like weaken from like healers, you know, and stun resistances for death blow and all that. So it's really nice. I highly recommend this spear for PvP. PvE, this is my build. Like I said, I'll link this quest log build to the description below if you guys want to give it a check out. And yeah, please feel free to rate it, see if you guys like it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. You can let me know over here as well. You know, let me know how you guys feel about it by rating it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I covered up pretty much all of what I could cover at the moment. I do hope I can make a future video showcasing my full potential when I get my full build as my PvE spear. Do some trials eventually, hopefully when the exploits get fixed and all that. Yeah, I just haven't been like really doing PvP as much or trials or anything like that because of all the exploits I've been hearing about, so unfortunately. But eventually, when if the game ever does become a little more stable in those aspects, I do hope to provide more content with those, especially with a full build kitted out too. So yeah, if you really like this video, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Hope this was very helpful to you guys. If you guys have any questions at all, please let me know. I'm always willing to help. And just one final thing, if you guys ever want to join our guild, you know, Cygnus is recruiting right now. We're just a casual friendly guild here in Moonstone. We've been here since launch in Soulfire in the old days. Yeah, so if you guys ever just want a nice guild that's chill to just join, just hit me up in Moonstone and I'll be sure to get back to you guys right away. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate if you guys hung in there to take the time to watch all this, and hope it helps, you know, hope it really clarifies a lot. Thank you guys. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Peace out.